what are the policies regarding immigration?
Okay, well, we obviously don't have the shadow spokesperson for immigration on the panel, but hopefully the Sport Business and Arts folks will be able to give us a bit of information there.
Well, as Julie said, not my area of expertise, and these aren't actually the policies that we've raised today, so I think that it's sort of going off topic slightly. I get your point about civil liberties, and that's definitely what we're appealing to. Immigration issues are an ongoing issue for Incognita. I think that the idea, bringing it back to what we've talked about today, the idea that an ID card, a citizen card, might help us identify citizens and illegal immigrants, I think is a little bit far-fetched, as we don't really have borders between other countries to cross. Being an island, it's sort of hard to sneak in, so we know when people are coming in. I know it's not really addressing the issue of detention centres, but again, not really this policy, and it would have to be referred to the Immigration Shadow Minister.
Got one at the back from a man who looks awfully like the treasurer.
It's a question for the panel. What's the opinion, taking you back to something you haven't mentioned before, what's the opinion on the opposition's proposed policy, just mentioned earlier, modelled off of a nation, Japan, with a very high density population, something where a wireless kind of connectivity takes on a very different form to that here. What's our opinion on kind of transposing a system that took place there over to Incognita, where maybe the same wireless system is not quite appropriate, and how do we think that constitutes as better spending than what the government has proposed?
Indiana Stalks.
Okay, well, I guess we weren't really given much information on the wireless nation plan, but I guess it seems kind of like another cost, which is a reaction to the URP's wireless city. So I guess as a citizen, it seems like maybe it's more important getting wireless internet out to regional areas instead of looking at like a new nation, like a wireless nation plan, which is just a prompt reaction to the URP's wireless city.
I think that you raised a really good point. Japan is a lot different to Incognita, and I think that POLO should perhaps get civil society research groups or something to look into it, do some research and present that to the public, because we really need more information. It's very confusing at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a bit premature to be saying whether or not I support it or not. As a reporter, I can't just go about saying this is good, that is bad, I do background research to know everything. So I can tell you that at EON at least, we will be talking with the opposition party and other interest groups to get you as much information to make your decision on that as you can as well.
Question here.
You also given a list of other policies that were sort of hand-waved into it, like a waste management scheme from the Environment Minister and some magic solution to the Springy problem. So I was just wondering if you could give us just a vague idea of how those policies would work. I understand you're not the Minister for Environment and you won't have all the details, but all of these policies listed today by the opposition, what are they?
So who are you actually directing the question towards?
Any representative of policy.
That's you.
Well, as with any presentation under the time limit, we can't go into too much detail. I think that basically my party was trying to illustrate that the huge amount of money being poured into these two projects could be poured into projects on a large scale. In terms of the environment, saline is a huge problem, water shortage is a huge problem. We want to develop strategies to combat these things to benefit not just one city in South Incognita, but try and improve the state of cities across the nation. Like you said, I'm not the minister, but we are looking into building a hospital for the aging, improving sports and recreational facilities, and so on.
Yes, you're not the minister, nor is any representative of your party being in opposition. We've got a question here.
As the communications and broadband Minister, I would just like to say that the media policy will be forthcoming.
I'll take that as a statement.
No,
I've got one at the
there's
back.
a question.
No? Is that one at the back? Yep.
When can we expect to have the details of these proposed policies?
Right, that's a good question from a person who looks like the Prime Minister. Do you want to respond to that one again? You're covering all of it today.
Well, I guess I'm the only person. I'd probably like to ask back when we're going to hear all the details of your policies and the costing. So I guess we've only revealed our policy today, whereas you've revealed yours a week ago and we haven't yet heard all your details. But in terms of that, we're working on it. I know there's been some concerns about our research locally, not just taking inspiration from other countries. So we're definitely going to take that into account, do our own research, work with civil society groups and try and improve our policies.
So when?
Okay, maybe I was the Prime Minister, I'm not sure. I suppose this does raise an interesting question. I might ask you, Rhona Jones. Are these policies just being churned out far too fast for, a reasonable public debate and for a reasonable influence on the direction of the country?
I think so, kind of, yeah. Like, you can't just have staff people are trying to draw conclusions based on these policies as soon as they're announced. They're not really taking the time to look at the policies, look at the problems associated with them, and try to find out what the proper answer is. They're going back and forth, oh, this proposal is that, it's this full way, or this full way. They're not really taking the time to actually analyze the underneath part of it to get a good, proper answer. And I think it's way too soon to be drawing conclusions as to what should be done, because you need to have that debate first.
That's criticism that's being made of the government as well. What do you say to the view that these are policies on both sides being churned out far too fast?
Well, like I've said previously, we came out with a policy proposal. We put it to the public. We've got information back. We're continually developing these policies and working on them. As to the comment that no substantial figures have been given, the Treasurer has repeatedly given figures which then have been taken by the media and the opposition and blown completely out of the water. Also, I believe there's a comment made that only 5% of Incognitians were keen on the idea of these policies, whereas the last poll, I believe, was closer to 30%. So I would just say that the opposition and the media are both just slandering us and our policies, and we are yet to find out more on their policies and actual facts rather than assumptions. And this goes on the security as well, where the stories of eggs in one basket and things like that. As we said before, the security is multi-leveled and very secure. It's the best technology available. It is not just a simple database where you get through one firewall or get in somehow and then that's it. That it's multi-leveled and very secure and encrypted. So if there was some kind of security breach, that would only be one step. There would be multiple levels and it's extremely difficult to hack into.
Might take two more questions. I've got one here and one there. Who goes first?
We've heard justifications for your policies based on things like the security measures of them, but what about the unpopularity of them? How can you justify pushing through policies that virtually no one wants?
So for those of you who didn't hear, the question was how can the government justify putting through unpopular policy, although I think, as you said, there was one poll a few weeks ago that said 5% and 33%, I think, about polling went up, so it's obviously going up, but still less than half the population support it. What would you say in response to that?
I would say in response to that those polls were done when not all the information was delivered by the government. So information is still coming out. Like I said, the policies are still being developed. When we have reached a final figure and a final policy which will be put forward, then obviously more polls will be done. But as previous governments have had to do, and might be the case to look forward to the future, to see that Incognita is in line with other countries around the world and that we're stepping forward in this digital age rather than just being too scared to move forward. As you said, it will streamline the entire public sector. Imagine never having to be on hold again for hours on end between different government sectors if they all talk to each other and it's all streamlined in one, through one card, which everyone would have. Everything would just be a lot easier dealing with government. So I think that the citizens should focus on the good that can come from the card, as well as obviously with any new policy there are risks and things that you have to be concerned about and look at, but that's our job and we are doing that. And the citizens of Incognita should have faith in their government and look at the positives as well.
And it's good that we have an unbiased media to hold into account. Final question from the front here.
We've got two parties that are both proposing similar plans. They've proposed similar plans in the past. They're both spreading the same kind of scandal and slander about each other. What can the two parties, in what way can they show us that they are any different from one another, and that the URP are just not another POLO? And if we elect POLO in again, the next election, are you not going to be just another URP? Are you just flip-flopping slightly on each other's policies? Or can you give us something unique as a party?
Well, actually, for those of you who didn't hear it, the question was basically statement preceding the question was that the two parties are basically the same in terms of policy and approach, and what can the two parties do to differentiate themselves. I'd like to take this on to Christopher Glove from the Incognitian.
My first thought is colour schemes could be an option. POLO is at present kind of a light green. I'm not sure what the URP is, but if they just kind of had more kind of oppositional colours, that could help differentiation. Obviously, we're in a fairly stable period at the moment in Incognitian. There aren't any huge, there's no kind of economic downturn, there are no huge terrorist threats, so it's difficult to have any kind of huge policy topics on which some decisive stances can be taken. So kind of just nitpicking the finer points of our society. Should we have some fancy wireless things every now and again? Well, basically, that's the point. We've reached the pinnacle of Incognitian development, and now we're just sorting out the finer things in life. We're picking out the curtains of our country, and so it is tough to really have some substantial difference in political debate, which I guess gives rise to crazy talk like Hitler comparisons. But I'll just throw that one out there. Yeah, let's go.
Sorry.
Was I operating on a too high level? The opposition?
No, not at all. It just didn't really seem like there was a point.
So do you agree, you're from the Eon, RHONA, do you agree that Incognita society has reached its maximum point and that we shouldn't really, apparently, hope to strive and achieve anything more? And that's why we've got these two parties with the same policy.
To say that the media is making this seem like it's like the policies don't matter, and we're obviously doing this
for
the economy and for the country, and it's just made to sound like it's nothing.
I don't think you should be so anti-media considering you're using the media to try to communicate your own policies.
Well, all comments I've heard today have been very negative towards the government, including
to go back to your question, though.
That wasn't from us.
Well, all of your comments have also been very negative.
To answer the question, I don't think that Incognita is where it's at, or could be in the future. It could be a lot better, and in the future there will be different policies brought forward by the parties that do diverge from each other to bring us forward. I do think that for that question, you're only looking at one very distinct area of technology innovation, and they do half agree, half disagree on that. But if you look at other areas like immigration or mining, taxes, they probably do have very divergent policies, and that is still the job of the media to present those different policies in regards to other areas as well, not just technology.
Alright, that's all we've got time for. Thank you to our panel.